Voting isn't just going to the polls anymore on election day. Options like early voting, mail-in voting, and ballot drop boxes are available to more voters and are growing in popularity. How to Vote is a tool created by Democracy Works, and it breaks down the options your state offers by forecasting a ballot, empowering you to decide where and when to vote. Democracy works best when we all vote, but misinformation and confusion about election procedures have resulted in low voter turnout. How to Vote takes the guesswork out of the voting process. It is easy to use and helps folks from all over the country overcome many of the process barriers to voting. It is committed to helping you vote no matter what. You can use the How to Vote tool to sign up for election reminders, see what's on your ballot, get step-by-step assistance requesting your mail ballot, explore your options for returning your mail-in ballot, check your voter registration status, and find your local polling site, and make sure that you have an appropriate ID to bring with you. Decide when and where you'll vote this year at howto.vote.
Hello and welcome to the formal review. Today, we will be looking at the 2018 film, Aquaman. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the review.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Formal review. This is episode 24. I want to thank you guys for tuning in once again. I really appreciate it. Now, before I get started today's review, I just want to reiterate, as with all reviews, there may be some minor spoilers, and if you haven't seen the film, I do recommend you go watch before having hear what I have to say about it. I do my best, as always, to keep everything vague so that the movie isn't ruined for you if you do choose to listen. If you really don't care about that, keep listening. Aquaman is a superhero film based on the DC Comics character of the same name. It's the sixth installment in the DC Extended Universe, following Man of Steel, Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, Justice League, Wonder Woman, and Suicide Squad. It is directed by James Wan and was written by David Leslie Johnson, McGoldrick, and Will Beall. It stars Jason Mamoa, Amber Heard, Willem Dafoe, Patrick Wilson, Dolph Lundgren, Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, Tamora Morrison, and Nicole Kidman. Now, some parts of this film takes place before Justice League into Aquaman's origin, and then the majority of the film takes place after Justice League. This tells the story of Arthur Curry, played by Momoa, who is born to a human father, played by Morrison. Some of you may know him as Jango Fett from Star Wars films, and Atlantean Queen Mother, played by Kidman. He would rather live among the surface than claim his rightful throne. When his half-brother, King Orm, played by Wilson, decides to try to unite the undersea kingdoms against the surface, he is forced to fight to take his rightful place on the throne as King of the Sea. Now, Aquaman has been a character that has been mocked for many years, so when they remarketed this man as being kind of more of a cool character, things changed. This character had his first outing, obviously Justice League, and with that, he brought a lot of the seriousness to the role and made him more of a badass type of character. James Wan has been known mainly for creating the Saw films, the Fast and Furious films, and he's written a lot when it comes to a lot of different types of horror films. Something that he's definitely been able to do is create a kind of beefy kind of horror film, and that's something that does pass over onto this film. There are some aspects of this film that look amazing. Some of them honestly are in the trailer, but that doesn't take away from how good it looks, and I think honestly that's something about this film that going into it I was a little bit worried about how much CGI. The DC films in general, I think, have always had a problem with the final battles being super CGI, and kind of it looks a little fake. And so going into this in a world that's taking place pretty much all underwater, I was a little skeptical. I was honestly fairly impressed. I honestly thought this film looked really beautiful. I was on the levels of the first time that I saw Avatar, and that's one thing I think really about Avatar that is still really great to this day is the CGI and how it looks. You really get captured into this undersea world that these characters are living in. Atlantis is just as amazing as Wakanda. It's just as amazing as Pandora. You put all that together and you get this beautiful world. The score, I think, is also really great. Rupert Gregson Williams, who also did Wonder Woman. One thing I really enjoyed about the story was honestly the King Arthur aspect. It was kind of a new way of looking at the character that's not really a fundamental type of character. Now, it's not a story that we haven't seen before, and honestly this film really punches it in your head that this story is about King Arthur. It has the trying to find the sword in the stone and becoming and knowing who he is as a hero. When you think of Aquaman, you're not always going to think of a King Arthur type of story, and I really appreciated that. Now, it is really enforced hard that this is the story that they're going with. I think James Wan's passion just for making films, I think definitely showed in this film. This film definitely a step up from Justice League, and I think his directing style definitely comes through on its action sequences, which are amazing. The costumes, which look fantastic. It made this film really exciting to watch, and honestly, watching Aquaman's character was interesting to watch as well. Now, I think Jason Mamoa as Aquaman is once again fantastic. He was honestly one of the better parts of Justice League, except this time he's taking him to new levels. He provides a very charismatic performance as the title character, and honestly, I do think the supporting cast was just as good. Patrick Wilson, who has worked with James Wan in the past as King Orm, did provide some intimidation, and so did the new character with Black Manta, played by Abdul Mateen. The action sequences looked fantastic. They were breathtaking at times, and really all the CGI water fights looked great. Going into this, if you're worried about big CGI aspect at the end, yeah, you get that, but you're kind of already immersed in this world, so it kind of becomes your accepted norm. So it's not as a big a deal as other previous films, which tried to be more realistic up till that last scene, and then it's just a lot of CGI. Now, one thing that was really cool about it is how they approach the underwater sequences, because one thing is hard to do is obviously have actors talk underwater because they actually can't breathe underwater. What they did in the last film, they had to create an air bubble, which kind of looked a little awkward at times. And so this film just kind of puts them in the water. This film, I think, does that extremely well and definitely puts you into this world. I think James Wan camera movements definitely give us unique style that definitely make all of these underwater sequences elevated. And these characters I love. I want to see them again. Having said that, I think this film definitely has problems. It's cliche. You can pretty much predict what's going to happen throughout this film. There were many times in the film, especially with the dialogue, that I said the line right before they said it in the film. It really does drag sometimes. A lot of the scenes, I think, were made just for the trailer. Not to say that they don't work within the film, but when you have a lot of dialogue in a film that's made for the trailer, sometimes those moments are like clearly just the moment that they made in the film that was made for the trailer. And while I appreciated that at some time, it kind of makes this film kind of a little bit over the top and a little cheesy. Like I said earlier, the King Arthur story, I think, is really pushed into your head more than you need it to be.
There isn't much screen time devoted to his backstory per se. It's kind of rushed.
We also didn't get to see the training of Aquaman. They kind of just said he was trained, and then the audience is just supposed to accept it. They kind of referenced it, and they did flashbacks and stuff, which I thought was a cool way to do it. They never showed him actually being trained aside from a few fight scenes. The aspects that they wanted to focus on, they never showed that. For example, the way he masters the trident. We never saw him actually being taught that. He was shown it, humiliated with it, and then somehow he learned it by the end of the film. With these flaws, I do think that this film is a fantastic piece of entertainment. I loved every moment that I was in the theater. I thought it was a lot of fun. It honestly felt like I would say a Saturday morning cartoon. For an enjoyment purposes, I would put it up there with Wonder Woman. It has its silly moments, it has its awesome moments, and honestly, it has its flaws. And it's gorgeous to look at, and it delivered on the visuals, the action, and it was fun. And for a superhero film, can't really ask much more than that. I think that if you really enjoy fun time at the movies, you're going to enjoy this. I would rate this film 3.5 out of 5 bow ties. Now, I want to know what you guys thought of the film. How do you think it rates? Where's the DCEU? Hit me up on social media. It's at The Formal Review. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. You can also check out Box Office Buzz. I do some retrospective reviews on there. And I do want to thank everyone for tuning in once again. Really appreciate it, because I really like talking about film. It's really nice to see a lot of people listening to what I have to say. I think that that's really important. I do want to make this better for you. I do want to make it more entertaining. This process, by putting out the formal review almost every week, is kind of stressful, and honestly, with how life turns out, as everyone who's listened knows, they do get a little held up sometimes when it comes to putting out some of these episodes. Now, like I said before, even if it's late, every single review that I say I will put out, I will put out. Also, for those people who are willing to support, and if you do want to become a supporter, just go to the Anchor webpage of the Formal Review, which is anchor.fm/the-formal-review, and click support this cast. I do appreciate any type of contribution that anyone will to make at this point to help make this show definitely better, more entertainment. Now, so you never miss an episode, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, pretty much anywhere you can find your podcast. I'm always willing to grow. If there's something you want to hear, a review of the film, or if you want to hear some type of special episode, if you guys want to join me on an episode to talk about a film, you're more than welcome. Let me know. Hit me up on social media. I'm definitely willing to open the grounds for that as we move forward. Now, as with all my episodes, I do have music in the background. This music is not mine. This is always music from the film to bring attention to honestly how good the score is. But I don't own the rights. The music in the background of this episode was from the Aquaman soundtrack, composed by Robert Gregson Williams, released by Watertown Music, released on December 14th, 2018. Thank you all again for tuning in. And until next time, I'll see you at the movies. Take care, everyone.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Formal Review. We hope you'll join us again.